that desire to prioritize your family, is that something that's always been in you, or is that something that has developed as you've been a mom and as you've, spent time with your kids?
Yeah, so I can honestly say, and I was faced with this again when the pandemic hit. And I think a lot of us, as parents were, as we found our kids home and really trying to navigate what that looked like, whether you were working at home and trying to be mom and trying to, navigate the boundaries of all of that chaos that was going on inside of that. But I always knew I wanted to be a mom. I'm nurturing by heart. I think nurses
Okay.
are nurturing human beings. I think we get involved in nursing as a career because we want to serve others, we want to help others, we
Yeah.
want to make a difference. And so when it came to having kids and being a mom, I think it came natural to me to do that, to be
Okay.
able to make sacrifices for them. However, I know that it does not come naturally to a lot of moms, and that's okay. There's no shame in that. But I do think it is very important that you assess your values and really live your life accordingly,
Mm.
because a lot of times we can say that we want something. We can say we want to, be at the top of the corporate ladder, and we want to be in charge of our, position at work, and all of these things. But if you're sacrificing your family, if you're sacrificing your values, then something's not aligned. Like, you
Yeah.
need to really align like the life that you want to live with your values. And so, I've learned through, just different experiences, like, just making that sacrifice and changing jobs, when my boys were little, and then again with COVID. So like right in the middle of COVID, I had been growing my business in network marketing, and I was showing up on social media. I had been showing up on social media for 3 years, every day, for multiple times a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew when my kids came home that I could not sustain that. It was not
Mm.
sustainable. I could not sit there with my phone in my hand and ignore
Yeah.
my kids and model that behavior. And I knew, like, I just knew. And I literally prayed. I was like, God, I'm trying to build this business because I want to create this freedom in this life for my family. What do I need to do? And it was very clear. It
Mm.
was like, lay it down. Like, your kids are your priority. Like, and
Yeah.
again, like, it was out of alignment, right? Like, I was striving, I was hustling, I was doing all of these things because I was saying I wanted to create this life for my family. But in the meantime, I was hyper distracted. I was stealing time away from my family. And I was not, I was robbing that time from them when I was saying that I was creating this for them. So it was really like
Mm.
just this aha moment. It was like, okay, it's very clear to lay it down. And so I
Yeah.
did. And, that was in 2020 when they came home. And I can honestly say that, I actually did. So when I started my podcast a year ago, I was like, okay, I'm going to get back in. The kids are back in school. We're kind of in like
Yeah.
a somewhat of a normal routine. I have kind of a little bit of time and space to be able to promote and do some, like social media marketing and that kind of thing. And so I did for a month or two with the launch of the podcast. But after that, like, I haven't been on since. And so it's just almost this, it's freeing.
Mm.
And I really feel like God calls us to, at sometimes he calls us to be quiet and to lay things down. And then I also feel like, so if there's someone listening and they're like, oh my gosh, like, I feel like I'm supposed to be on social media, I'm supposed to be sharing, discipling or whatever that is for you. God doesn't, like, we're all called at different times to do different things. And so
That's right.
maybe you do, like, your voice needs a presence in the online space. And so that if that's you, lean into that. But for me, it was very clear that I had to lay it down because it was
Mm.
it was robbing time away from my family. And so, if my family is my priority and they're like one of my values, then I need to be aligned with that. And I don't need to, be focusing on this business and striving and hustling and doing everything that the world tells me to do,
Yeah.
when I know in my heart that my kids are my priority, my family are my priority. And so now I'm able to build a business behind a microphone. I'm able to show up, um, you know, just one-on-one. I'm not constantly in my DMs. I'm not constantly worrying about posting stories of my kids. I'm not constantly worried about, making TikToks and reels and all of these things that I think that is just keep us so distracted. And I don't want to get really deep into this because I could really go on a tangent with it, but we have to realize as Christians that Satan loves to distract us.
Yeah.
And I'm not calling out social media as being, the devil. But I think in the wrong hands, it can be so distracting that, I mean, whether it's robbing time away from your family, whether you are comparing yourself to other people on social media, whatever the case, it's a platform that opens up so much of Satan's playground.
Yeah.
And I think that we need to be aware of that.
Yeah.
And I don't think that a lot of people are. And so it's scary. It really is. And like when you think about raising up littles and really them to being exposed to that and being vulnerable, like little kids being vulnerable to this tool that Satan can potentially use to deter them
Yeah.
from, where God wants them.